Hey,
Hi.
Hello,
hi,
hello.
we did it.
So far, so good.
We're here.
Hello, hello. Is there anybody out there?
Hello. Oh, there's people
There we
already.
go.
Ciao
There
Lucian.
are. Ah!
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, all you people whose names and comments I can see. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Tunor. So, how are you guys? We are a
Hi
little bit
there. Right.
nervous. At least
We
I
are.
am.
I am too.
Well, Ron doesn't have excuses to be nervous, okay?
Neither
You are
does
the only one
Julia. She
here
has to
speaking
put up with
English.
Julia has to put up with me in every class and with all the students, so she shouldn't be nervous either.
Okay.
It's like I am. It's like breathing. I cannot stop being nervous.
Okay.
It's just.
It's a state of mind.
Yep.
So, welcome everybody. This is our very first live streaming in English. So, we really hope surviving until the, the very end of this live. So, hi everyone. And today we're going to talk about our Giano Academy. This is an open day about our classes in English. And we are here with Ron, who is the teacher of game design classes, and with Julia, who is here to help anyone. If you have any questions in chat, or
Yep.
maybe to help me to understand something, and we are also gonna talk about our new classes in English, adventure writing base level. So I think that maybe we can start talking about our game design path, because we have five different courses, and just two of them will start these months. And hi, Nonnacho. Oh, it's very nice to see lots of you. Um, um, you follow our live in Italian, so I'm happy to see you here in English. Yay!
Well, we will do our best to accommodate everybody's background as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's mostly what I'm here for. Like
Mhm.
managing and helping people.
Well, brief presentation, okay? So, mostly of you know me. I am the vice president of Il Salotto di Giano, and I am also the coordinator of Giano Academy. And I teach editing and adventure writing in Italian, but I'm gonna teach adventure writing in English for the first time with the help of Julia, who will translate all the slides. And so don't worry, you will have everything in English. I hope so. So,
You will.
your turn.
Okay. Well, first, I want to say that I have been teaching for Giano Academy now for almost a year, I think.
Yeah.
And so I've had lots of opportunity to see what classes work better and how I've been able to teach them more than once. And I think I'm really now in a state of confidence about all of them. So, first of all, I teach 5 classes, and one of them is Introduction to Design, and that is required for all the others. So the others are not in a sequence, they're just themselves, but introduction for design for any of them. So we are always teaching more introduction to design all the time. So that's one of the classes that will be available in October. So that's straightforward, I think. If you haven't taken any of my classes, then take Introduction to Design. It will always be available. And then the other classes can be taken after that. If you've done that, you can take any of the others whenever you want. There's no order for them. So to give you an idea, I will show a slide from Introduction to Design. Hopefully the slide sharing will not explode everybody's monitor. Let's see what happens. First of all, it says share screen. Does it give me
Yes.
a chance to say, let's see, so, but I don't know whether it knows what to share. So we will find out. Select a window, even better. Okay, good. There. Okay.
Okay.
So does this appear? did we have a shared screen? We do.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have
excellent.
it.
This is very exciting. So this is from my Introduction to Design class to give you an idea of some of the ideas that I present. Now, when you see a diagram like this, usually you think like a mechanism, that it's supposed to operate like a widget. It will go through the diagram. It will go through the diagram automatically, right? So all you have to do is push the buttons and it will play a game for you. But in a well-designed game, like the latest version of Vampire, as you can see here, and I won't take you through all the slide, we are monitoring hunger. It's not a diagram of the whole game. It's not a super diagram for the game. It's just looking at hunger and what can happen to it. And if you're familiar with the game, you know you wake up hungry. You know you'll wake up or thirsty or whatever it is you call it for a vampire. I have never been very clear about this. They like to call it the hunger, but they're thirsty, but whatever. So anyway, the point is that the more hunger you have, the more possibly violent you become. That's over there. Then what about drinking off of people? So you can decrease your hunger, which is great, but you have to make choices about killing them, people, and you have to make choices about what conditions you are going to get for it. So you're kind of managing your behavior, your violence, you are managing your ethics and your murder and things like that. Hey, maybe somebody deserves it, and then I can be not hungry for a while, that sort of thing. So anyway, you have this kind of killer goth poetry situation going on with these choices, and nobody can tell you how to do it as a player, right? Nobody can tell you how you're going to manage it the way against the way someone else manages it. And that's what we look for in these diagrams, the capacity for different people to play them differently. I call that agency. And there are games right now that are so automated, there is no agency. So they work, but so what? Right? Who cares? So I will stop that screen there. So that's just an example of some of the principles. When I teach people how to make these diagrams, I know how they want to go wrong, right? They want to turn it into a beautiful engineering engine block or something. But no, I teach them how to make these diagrams properly, and then they can understand where somebody can actually play their game as opposed to follow and just follow a little automated path. So learning how to avoid automation is a big part of that class. So that's just one principle. There's 5 sessions, 2 hours each. They're very active. I have a background in university teaching, and it shows. You have homework, and it's
Lots of
real.
them.
Yeah, it's real. It's actual. You have to do it, and you can't say, "Oh, I understand it. I'm too smart. I don't really have to do it." I will come back on you and say, "You are going to not get accreditation. I want your work." So be warned. It's a real class,
But
but the
seriously,
homework is not pro.
I have
Go ahead,
never
Julia.
seen
Sorry.
anybody say no to your homework. Everybody's
Right.
always been happy to do it. So really, it's
Mhm.
homework, but the fun kind.
I hope so. It is definitely it is definitely a major feature of learning to do things. Okay, this is one reason why I don't really like the idea of showing the class as a movie, because it's not a TED talk. It's about a sequence of things that you do, and how you do at it determines what you will do next. So it's a developmental process. And so I see a simple question. How difficult is it to balance a game system? Guess what? I have a whole list of broken terminology, words that don't mean anything, and that gamers love to say. Balance has been one of these, because it turns out that different levels of impact on the fiction, right? I do more damage than you do, right? That's more impact, right? Well, as it turns out, balancing that, or rather equalizing, because people don't mean balance, they mean equalizing, right? So equalizing those doesn't solve anything. If there was a problem with feeling that you are not having any agency in play, then getting distracted by the different power levels actually isn't going to solve it. You can equalize, and it will change nothing. When you see a difference, that guy is more powerful than my character, and I don't like the way this feels in play. You don't like something, but it's not the difference in power level. And it's not spotlight either, right? Each person getting a turn to talk, right? It's not spotlight either. It's something else. It's the ability for your personal presence at the table to make a difference. That you can play a character even a small amount. I know people who, in 2 hours of play, are happy if they are really active for 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes, they don't want more than that 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes have to be about their presence at the table, making decisions with that character that someone else could have done differently. And that what happens due to them actually has an effect. That's called agency. It's very different. Agency for everybody takes away all the problems. Nobody cares about power differences at that time. Nobody cares about spotlight differences at that time. So the learning how to recognize broken terms where you get obsessed with something, this obsession with we can't have a game master. I mean, that's undemocratic and that's not creative and I'm not invested. No game master, and all that kind of stuff. It's completely broken. There are other variables at work that ruin play, no matter how distributed game mastering is. Learning how to get out of these broken terms and into real terms is a big part, especially of my class design depth. Right, that's where we get past just the basic how to do it. You get into design depth, you're going to be looking at some things that are much more disturbing in terms of you saying, why have I been looking at it like that all this time? Frankly, the hobby will not help you. Hobby terminology, online identities, it won't help you. So let's see. All these messages I'm looking at, comments. Okay. Julia, did you want to say anything about some of the content about this kind of reorientation?
Well, I think it's a good course. I mean, all your design courses are good, not just for designing, but also from, let's say, a player's point of view, because you completely you change the way you see games, because you see the mechanics inside. So even if somebody is not exactly interested yet in creating a game, I think it's an interesting, let's say, an interesting course, an interesting set of courses, because really I came in, not wanting to design a game. I was just there to help, and actually it made me start thinking. And you
It's quite fun to watch
contagious.
people. When people take the class and they say, well, I want to take this class, but I'm not really working on a game, and I say fine, and I just start saying to myself,
yeah, they'll be working on that. Yeah, exactly.
Now, another aspect of this is that this is a game design course, or rather a sequence of game design courses. No, sequence isn't the right word. It's a line. It's a set. Sorry?
Maybe, Ron, I can share right now our website page to show
Okay.
you all the 5 courses with a brief description, so you can have an idea about all the
Sure.
classes.
Yes, because they form a whole curriculum. So
yeah. Just remembering that introduction to design is the entry point, and then you have these other 4 that you could take in any order, or 1 or 2 or 3 or none is fine. Well, maybe not none.
Right now, we are having a new introduction to design class and a 3 fantasies class.
Correct. So to look at that one first, as I talked about introduction to design a little bit already, 3 fantasies is taking a look at the fact that fantasy and role-playing were connected from the start. They were synonymized from the start. So that the idea of fantasy role-playing as somehow being the proper or original form, or sort of the basic form of role-playing, how did that happen? And what has happened to the term fantasy through the decades? How it became a commodity, how it was recast in terms of a genre, And what gaming had to do with that? There's some very strange things. Think about the late 80s when it was standardized that if you had a role playing game, you could now run off and read the associated books. That began with Dragonlance and became very institutionalized with Forgotten Realms, for example. But all the companies did it. FASA did it. It was huge for a while to do that. And yet we also had fantasy and science fiction novels, but mostly fantasy, that were written by gamers, and although there was no associated game, you could see all the rules and all of the gaming in the fiction, and then ultimately a licensed game would appear. So the books were being games and the games were being books. And how did that happen? And what did fantasy look like? How is that different from the psychedelic and underground and a very unconstructed form of fantasy that existed before this? Does role playing actually do fantasy? Or is fantasy role playing now a thing of its own that only talks to itself? So, what does the history of Dungeons and Dragons have to do with that? So, in many ways, Three Fantasies is a fairly historical class, but it is a design course, and you will be working on some kind of gaming project as you do it. So that's the goal for Three Fantasies. Design depth basically is about numeracy, knowing how to use math as a language, and it is also about the situational outcomes. In other words, how does your game actually do a thing when it's played, as opposed to walking through the numbers or just flailing around. So that's design depth. Um, Fun with Ronnie's is about a particular form of inspiration and learning to work on a role playing game in the earliest stages and not getting ahead of yourself and worrying about product, not getting ahead of yourself and making it a project. Instead, saying, how do I work on this game and keeping all my damn friends from telling me what to do, and all sorts of things of this kind. So that's Fun with Ronnie's. And I know I'm missing one. It's like the Seven Dwarfs. I can never, you always miss the
It's the
last one, right?
pool.
Right. Playing with the pool. There was a game published 20 years ago which had an enormous impact on role-playing design. And so what we do is work through playing it and work through its internal structure, and then look at the way that different games have been influenced by it. How in some ways its lessons, I think, have been failed. And also working on derivations or applications of those same ideas. So that's playing with the pool. It's an in-depth look at a single game and saying, okay, what do we learn from it exactly? Can I say something generally about the classes too, which I think is kind of important?
Yeah, of course.
Specifically, these are design courses. They are not project courses. I will never say, take my game and you'll walk out with take my class and you will walk out with a publishable game. I guarantee you'll make $1 million. I'll set you up on Kickstarter. I'll show you how to run it all. I'll teach you everything about being a new star in the role-playing industry. I hate all of that. There will be none of this. We are talking about role-playing and design, and it is rooted in play. Julia is absolutely right. A great deal of what we do is about understanding and enjoying play. And one thing that sort of startles the students is I simply ask them, okay, so you've been playing, how has it been going? You're working on this thing, you say, okay, so what have you done since I saw you? They say, it's only been a week. And I would say, and you're not playing? You're supposed to be playing. And so this approach, which is called playful play and is not playtesting at all, is designed instead of treating it as an engineering project, turning it instead into an ongoing activity with reflections that actually make a game better. And you are and clearing your mind of it as a project and saying, well, I've got the Kickstarter scheduled and I've got my artist, and I'm, this is the font. Here, I'll show you. Here's a page of layout and stuff. And I can say the biggest problem with role playing historically, and 10 times worse right now, is that there's a whole lot of publishing projects and there's a whole lot less games. There's a lot more publishing projects and promotions than there are actually games. So this class is about designing something that actually can work, and it's on you. If you want to publish it later, you can, but that's someone else's problem, like future you, not in the class. So that's all 5 of the classes are absolutely based on that idea. So now that I've scared everybody, and
Oh, no, wait. I discovered an important thing because I showed um, the wrong page of the website because I've just seen that it was written that you need design depth to participate, but it's not. So maybe we can
no,
show the correct page. You just need
which is proper, right?
introduction to design, okay?
For any of the
Introduction to
others,
design
right?
is the first one, and you can do all the others with just introduction to design, okay? So this is the correct page, just to clarify, because it was
Right.
my mistake of the wrong
Okay.
page.
Phew, I was afraid of that, actually, that
No,
sometimes
no.
that would be miscommunicated. So let's see here. We have all sorts of things in the comments. There is some sort of claim that there is some sort of difference between rules and fun. Well, that's beautiful and anarchistic, but it's nonsense. What do you mean, rules versus fun? What do we mean by rules? Because I think I know what rules you are talking about. There are rules which we notice because they're terrible. I have noticed that when there are rules and they are not terrible, we don't call them rules for some reason. So, what do we do with our rules so that people say, oh, you don't notice the rules? When, of course, they notice them, they're using them, but that language means they're relating to them in a different way. And no, it's not because they get out of the way, it's because they're working. So that is the goal, is to have rules that people want to use, and they won't use terms like rules typically because you treat that as a negative description. So that's another. Let's see what other little comments can I suddenly go and jump on. Maybe I will be nice. Somebody says quite nicely that they're looking forward to the class, which is great. So am I. Three Fantasies is turning into a very passionate affair for me right now that I hope to share with you.
That was me,
Well,
actually.
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe we can say about the platform, because the classes will be on Google Meet, but the homework will be on Discord. So you will have a chat with the other students and with Ron, and you can chat with each other, doing homework together, share homework, and so we are gonna use Discord. But with my class, with adventure writing, we are gonna use Google Classroom. So different platforms, okay? And for Discord, you will have the access to Il Salotto di Giano channels with all the Giano Academy community, and you can share your experiences and your favorite games or your personal projects with the other students. And it's an international community. We have English gaming sessions, book clubs, and other stuff which you can do once you will become a Il Salotto di Giano member. Because to participate to our academy, you need to be an Il Salotto di Giano member first, and then you can buy the course. So if you have any problem, please remember that subscription page is in English. If you don't see it, please ask us, write an email, because maybe there's a problem on the website, but it should be in English. So, oh, Red Fudo. Yes, of course, you have a project.
That is perfectly okay. I will break you. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm
are
kidding.
you
I
in?
won't.
Are you in
No,
for something?
I just had to say it. It was terrible. I'm a very nice person. If you're working on a project, you go right ahead and we will find out how that works with the class. You won't be the first. Okay. I'm familiar with the situation. So
Hi, il
I
Barone.
also want to share my screen again. So I'm supposed to. Audience, I'm supposed to make a big deal out of this, okay, every time I say this, so the technical person knows that it's coming. So,
Let's see the screen.
right. And so I go here to take a look at one of my points in design depth, which I wanted to just give you an example of some of the things you might find in design depth. There is quite a bit of, oh, wait, here we go. Boy, it sure takes you through a whole lot of steps to do this. There.
Everything is complicated.
There. Did it come? Yes. Okay. So this is taking a look at a game, a very influential game, Marvel Superheroes from 1984, which is also one of the best loved games in the history of role-playing. Survived without promotion or anything, massive global play for decades. And is still the basis for many other games. Okay, so everybody knows about bell curves and flats and talks about, dice probabilities and things, but maybe it's not clear exactly how they work in the better games. In Marvel Superheroes, the green bar is basic success, and the vertical is how good you are, okay? And then the horizontal is how good you are, and the vertical is your dice roll when you roll. Here's what I'm driving at. The green bar is your chance for basic success. And what can you tell me about the green bar? No matter how good you are, you can be Aunt May or you can be Thor. What's your chance of success in the green bar? About 30% always. Your chance of basic success does not increase or decrease to any appreciable amount through the entire graph of Aunt May to Thor. What's different is the relative positions of failure and the higher degrees of success. So if you're Thor, you have very little chance of failure, and you have a much higher chance of the yellow and the red, which is these extreme forms of success. So do you see what I mean? It's not success versus failure. You always have the same chance of success. The question is, what about everything else? And those proportions changing. So it's a very different graph than what people think of as I get better means more chance of success. And it's a better system than the ones who do that. So looking at probabilities in terms of their precise use per system, as opposed to just thinking, more is better. If you're better, you get more, right? That's all I need, right? No, there's a lot more going on than that. So that's an example of the kind of numeracy we talk about in design depth. So hopefully that was sort of interesting. If we go then, okay, I'm sharing the screen again.
Let's see the screen. This is
You're
kind of
the
magical.
screen
I like this.
magic.
Yeah, you're like the
I
backup
love it.
singer or something, right? Yeah. So here is we were talking about three fantasies, and I forgot this. Now this is a historical slide. It's not a design slide. What's happening in this slide is that it's what I was referring to before. This is the transition. Across the top were all published in the late 70s and very early 80s, and they don't mention role-playing at all. They don't use the terminology or the concepts from role-playing very much. They vary in quality. The Elfstones of Shannara and Harpy's Flight are really different books in terms of quality. But the point is that they all are popularized fantasy. They're all derivative in some way from older books. I mean, Elfstones of Shannara is a hack of Tolkien, but all the others also. Riddlemaster of Head is kind of a hack of Earthsea. They all are new, popularized, highly promoted books on the new shelf that says fantasy in the bookstore that was not there before. That's the top row. You wait one freaking year, and every one of the games at the bottom is written by a gamer, written by a role player. And none of them mention it. None of them mention the games. So it's stealth, right? All of these fantasy authors who are avid role players are starting to bring in everything from role playing into these books. And it will only be another cycle before they admit it, when it becomes celebrated that the role playing and the writing are complementary, for better or for worse. But there's this cycle. The idea is that even as Dungeons and Dragons was being in terrible problems at the time, this is the Satanic Panic in the middle of the 1980s. The company is in complete disarray. Gary Gygax has been fired, and the company is being sold for the first time since 1975, and it's about to be picked up by a venture capitalist named Lorraine Williams. And so it's in a complete state of disarray, and people all over the world are like hiding their children's eyes from the devil game, and it's a big problem. But the fantasy, D&D fantasy, has escaped. You see, loose in the wild, the D&D fantasy has escaped and is now embedded in fantasy fiction. So just as the game is being demonized, the topic has become universalized. So those of you who are familiar with the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition will realize this is the product of everything I'm talking about here. So again, this is a design course. There's lots of game design in it, but this kind of historical perspective on what we're looking at, why it is the way it is the topic.
Maybe we can give some dates.
Mhm.
Three Fantasies will begin on the 6th October, and the deadline, the application deadline, is the 3rd October. Okay, so the classes will take place Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in our time zone. It means Rome time,
CST. Yeah.
CEST, right? Well, Rome
For those
time.
of you who don't know, I live in Sweden, so Italy and Sweden are on the same time, which makes life a lot easier for all of us
Yes,
on
because
this end. Yeah.
every time during the meetings, I'm talking in, well, Rome time, because our association is based in Rome, Italy, and it's very difficult for me to remember all the time zones every time. Is whew,
Mhm.
a nightmare.
Yeah, I feel like because I play all around the world now,
Mm.
I feel like I need one of those, clocks,
Yeah,
rows of
Multiple
clocks.
clocks.
I
Yeah.
really, I really need those actually.
that
So,
would be
There,
yeah,
useful.
you can
but
see it on your
fortunately
phone,
not for
actually.
gaming. Mhm.
And
There's an
introduction
app for that. Yes, I know. I don't like that. I
introduction
want
to
clocks.
design class. The application deadline is the 5th October, and the course will be on Fridays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. always CEST.
Hmm.
It should be okay for America, Canada.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a reasonable time for
yes, it should
them.
be in the afternoon for you. If someone from if someone in chat is from US or Canada, well, it should be okay. Okay.
Should be
So,
around
yeah.
6 to 9 hours before our time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's okay.
So the other class that I have a slide for is from the Fun with Ronnie's, and I will share that as well when I get through all these things. Oh, I'm allowed to like make it not show me that one page in transition. I should have noticed that. Okay, there.
I'm
Screen
ready to
Okay.
magic.
I'm ready to do my magic.
Hmm.
I
Let's
really
see
do
the
Yeah.
feel like
screen.
Ron's a magician and we are the magician's girl.
No, that's terrible. I would never do that. I am the what a terrible thing. Okay, I disavow what Julia said. Okay, so my valuable technical patient translator. So we have here one of the slides from the Ronnies, which shows you a little bit about it. I gave the students 4 terms: forever, young, savage, and love. Okay, and they had to pick two, and they had to do the basics of a role-playing game in 24 hours. And so then we use that inspiration moment to work on these and show how you work on a game right out of its first inspiration. So this is what people did. For example, some people took Young and Savage, and some people took Forever and Savage. With only a few students, we did not see all the combinations. But I hope you can see that every one of those combinations you can treat as a personal inspiration and say, okay, I'm making a game about Young and Love. I'm making a game about Forever and Love. I'm making a game about Young and Savage. And that's what I'm working on. So the Ronnie's class is based, it's kind of it's the hottest. Wait, what is how do I make this not sound creepy? It is the most raw and refreshing version of all these classes, where basically it's nothing but the doing. There's lots of important ideas, but it is all about doing the thing. And by the time you are done with the 5 weeks, you have played your thing a lot, and there's a lot of all the, it turns into a form where you can look at it and say, I could work on this. So that's what we're doing with or you can look at it and say, I have done enough, I'm done, this was fun, I learned, I don't have to work on this. Having the freedom to decide about working on a game is important. It's not a marriage. You don't have to publish it. So that's what the Fun with Ronnie's is about.
Perfect. Remember that if you have any question, please just write in chat. We are here to answer. So yes, we are going to arrange some classes about how to assist to all of our classes. I know we are guilty about this. Too many classes.
Monster Energy. Monster Energy does the trick. This is not sponsored by Monster Energy.
Yeah, please switch. We are not. Okay. Well, maybe this is also the perfect time to say that we are going to Origins Game Fair online, and Ron will have a class.
Right.
There will be a panel on the 3rd October from 11 a.m. EDT, so not our
Right.
time zone this time.
Right.
And the title is How Much Action is in Your Action? Timing and Movement in RPG Design. So if you want to participate, remember that you can go to the Origins Game Fair website, and it's a free panel. So it could be a great occasion to assist to a lesson, and then go to our website and become a Il Salotto di Giano member.
No, well, that's the hope, right? I mean, I admit it's a blatant promotional device, but with any luck, it's, mutualistic. I think that with the help of everybody, maybe I should make it clear. Julia attends all the classes. The classes are conducted in English, but I take different native languages very seriously. And so if somebody wants to speak in native Italian, for example, for a question or to have something clarified in Italian, then Julia is there for that purpose, and also can decide by looking at people, or it's easier to ask her, so you're not shy. You're like, what did he say? You can ask her. And so that can help a lot. So we take the communication slowly. I'm the kind of teacher who wants to have an exchange of, I don't want to say, okay, do you get it? Good. Okay, next thing, right? I want to have an exchange and see what specific things have been brought out for this one class, because that's different from the last class. So having Julia there is critical for this, because people have different confidence levels or have understood this or that particular detail, but not something else. And that occurs to the English speakers as well, because this is thought work. You're not going to pick up everything the first time through. You will have questions. So I actually find that I don't want to teach these classes without Julia.
Oh, I'm
and it's not
blushing now.
just the language, it's the interchange that matters. Having that there is really important.
if there was any need, I'm also fluent in French, so I
Yes,
could
we have
also
seen a bit
help
of
with
that
that.
too. Yes.
And we
Yeah,
are working on Chinese,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
right,
fine.
Julia?
Yes,
Oh
no,
no.
please.
It will be fun.
Mhm.
6 days to learn like 60, no, 100 more characters.
Right,
That's,
right.
yeah.
And
Oh my
draconic,
God.
of course. We are
Yeah.
working on it.
Mhm.
And this could be a spoiler, but if you don't know, we have live format on Twitch and Facebook, which is called Giano Academy Talk. And we invite some experts from RPG or, well, publishing house to talk about different topics. And languages is a spoiler about one of our Giano Academy talk. So during the next week, we are going to announce all the calendar with all the guests. So keep an eye on it. I'm not very good with spoilers because during every live I I say
You
something.
give something up.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the idea is really about whoop, losing your earpiece. The idea is really about enthusiasm. I think that we get ahead of ourselves. The different people at Giano Academy get ahead of ourselves a lot simply because they're throwing energy into the next thing. And so it's not really a problem. It's aggravating because the thing you are working on isn't ready yet, or this portion of it is not, the page isn't ready, or this person wasn't there in time, or something. But still, you get yourself in that position only because everybody is driving forward. And I kind of like that. It's crazy, right? But it's not dysfunctional. It's just crazy. So that's okay, right?
Yeah. Well, oh, I also remember an important thing to say. If you cannot participate or assist to one lesson, don't worry because the lessons will be recorded
Right.
and you will receive it if you are not able to attend. So don't worry, you will not lose anything. And you will also receive the slides that you are going to see
Right.
during the lessons at the end of the class, and of course you will also receive a certificate of attendance at the end.
Mhm.
Okay, so this general info
And I
about
do
academy.
I do work on all of the homeworks and write all over them and provide the feedback on them and things, but I don't grade them with letters or numbers or anything like that. That's not part of the process.
Well, there's also a new class for this year is an experiment because it's not hosted by an English native speaker, because I'm talking about me. And well, as I said during the live, I will do it with the help of Julia. So it's the adventure writing class. Is an hour, is an entry level course designed for players, DMs, storytellers, everyone who wants to publish a scenario for an RPG. So we are going to talk about NPC, how to write villains, um, targets, styles, or the fundamental notions about writing a linear plot. This a linear plot. This is the main topic of our class. Is a 5 lessons class, but is a brandly new thing. So you will not find the program on the website because, well, it's a coming soon.
Hmm.
The application deadline is the 10th of November because it will start in the 5th. Yes, I think. Yeah, the 15th November. And it should be on Mondays, but you will find all the details during the next weeks. So if you want to try a new class about writings, I'm here for you. I hope.
No,
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. The first time one teaches, the first time that one teaches a class, I'm sorry to say to the students, but you are the guinea pigs. But you are very important guinea pigs. because at that point, the ideas come together in a way that you can never anticipate. When I taught at in the university setting for years, I would all they wanted me to give course proposals, and I would have to tell them every time, you realize that this is going to be bullshit by the time the course is over, right? You know that, right? And they didn't like to hear it. They were like, no, this is the official class, this is our contract with the students. And I'm like, yeah, right, you never taught a class. If for the class to be good, it's going to mutate in the middle the first time you teach it. That's just how it is. So I wish you luck and enjoyment and in your first laboratory, because you don't really know how the thing is going to walk.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I read about Josephus, who great linear versus sandbox debate. Yeah, that's the reason why we divided adventure writing class in 3 courses. In the first one, we are doing lots of work on linear adventure um, plot. During the intermediate class, we are going to talk about sandbox. And in the third class, we are going to talk about project, how to write scenarios for projects for different purposes, not only entertainment, but for example, educational things or, maybe for therapeutic purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, we're gonna do lots of workshops, and there will be a specific lesson on how to write historical adventure using history or science to communicate something to your public, to your players, and how to use these adventures in different contexts, in different places, not only in association, game fairs, or events, but even in museums or archaeological area or different places. So that's the idea. We will start with the adventure writing base class, and then we will see how
So
to force
for
sandbox players into an actual story.
I was about to say, Josephus, you are painting a target on your back, as far as I'm concerned. Design depth takes the entire concept of linear versus sandbox and beats it to death with a bat, and instead focuses on something else that makes any structural concept of how you're going to play functional. So it's another example. I mean, I understand, Laura, why you are organizing the classes in this fashion, but the functionality does not come from forcing people through the line, and the functionality does not come from simply having multiple doors to your dungeon.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
well, this is an important thing. We are not going to talk about dungeon because, because I am specialized
There's a
in.
lot of dungeons that are up above. There are a lot of dungeons that are up in the open air. Okay,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's why I always start my classes saying we are not going to talk about dungeons because we are going to talk lots of labyrinths or mazes, not about
Hmm.
dungeons. Yeah, I'm not the D&D kind of player.
Yes,
Only
only
dragons.
dragons. Yes,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. All right. Well, we will see. All right, Josephus, I'll give you a dungeon. I'll give you a dungeon you'll never forget.
Yeah, we want to see you now, in class.
I'd be scared
That's right.
now. I'd be
Hmm.
scared. I'll give you a dungeon you'll never forget.
Hmm. The dungeon design, the dungeon crawl, the death versus treasure design was the first true role playing game functional published design, and it was not in Dungeons and Dragons, which was a wretched piece of crap at first publication. It was Tunnels and Trolls. Tunnels and Trolls nailed it, absolutely nailed it, did it right the first time. Why anybody plays anything like that and are not playing Tunnels and Trolls, I don't know. That's a little extreme, but the point is that Three Fantasies examines the origin of that kind of play and shows how it was subverted into a softer and less exciting form later.
We have, well, in Italian, we are working for the English class, but we had last year a workshop about dungeons, and we talked a lot about tunnel and trolls, and
Mm-hmm.
also we use a book as well, is the most important book of the class because it's the main focus of our bibliography, and it's called, in English, I think, is How to Write Adventures That Don't Suck. It's from
Right.
Herman
Uh-huh.
James,
Hmm.
and I love it. And I
Hmm.
edited the book for the Italian version, and it's composed of different articles,
Hmm.
and it's very interesting. And it talks a lot about tunnels and trolls, and it's very useful.
Excellent. So, Josephus, thank you for the message. I appreciate that. We will find the time to discuss this for fun. I promise.
Okay, I think that we are near the end. If you have any questions, this is your occasion because we are
Ask
near
questions.
to close our live. And in the meantime, I just want to remember that you can find all the info about the classes and our next free panels at Origins on our website. You can see stream elements in chat with all the links, so you can have a look on our website, and if you have any questions you can write us, and we will be happy to answer in English and maybe in French, Julia.
Maybe. There's also some Spanish speakers in our wonderful translation group because we
Hmm.
have a translation group.
Yeah,
Excellent.
for my
Nice.
sanity. We have a
Hmm.
translation group.
For her sanity, not
Hmm.
for ours.
Hmm.
No, I'm
Thanks,
joking.
Julia.
Joking. I'm joking.
And soon in Chinese, of course.
Hmm.
Yes,
Soon.
Nonnacho. Soon in Chinese. Okay, so I will. Um, Origins. Next dates. You can find us at Origins from Friday to Sunday online. Um, Remember that panel with Ron will be on Sunday, 3rd October. How much action is in your action? Timing and movement in RPG design from 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. EDT.
Hmm. Which in real time is actually
1
5
a.m.
p.m.
Yeah.
What, right? In real
So
time, which is the one I'm sitting in. Therefore, for people in Italy as well, if it's at 11 EDT, then it is going to be 5 p.m. 17 uh, for us.
yeah, and there will also lots of game sessions for Lex Arcana, for Broken Compass, and from Inferno Dante's Guide to Hell. All
Hmm.
Italian games published in English. So if you want to try, well, we are here for you.
Hmm.
And we'll also be live on Twitch again next week on Thursday in Italian with Giano in Cucina, which means Giano in the kitchen, to talk about RPG and food. So if you want to give a look, we are
Hmm.
trying to create our recipe for 7C, the game.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think it's time. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Ron and Julia. It has been very interesting. And please do it. We're going to do this again in English. Maybe we're going to talk about sandbox or maybe about game design, something taken from your class, Ron. We can organize
It sounds like a fine idea.
some spoilers. Yay!
Yeah, exactly.
More
Okay.
spoilers.
More spoilers. So, well, thank you, everybody, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.